Brother Nelson, I believe that your professionalism is coming out in your response, because what I think you're asking men to do is to psychologize and clinically evaluate women and their behaviors before he gets involved. And personally, I think that's a big ask for to have men to figure out and learn and just pay attention to, and not come direct, but kind of evaluate and observe a woman to figure out, and hopeful that he gets it right. In addition to that, that takes time that a lot of men probably don't want to take or have. Why would you not want, especially in today's age, to just get it, just cut to the chase? I'm a cut to the chase type dude. I hear what you're saying, because you may trigger something, or you may hurt somebody, or you may bring up something that, fine. Then then so be it. She should go get therapy beforehand anyway. She shouldn't be dating if she can't deal with these kind of questions. Why are you out on the dating market looking for new people if you can't handle a question that is relevant? I mean, you had no problem with the Me Too movement. Why we can't ask these questions now? You already know the position that men are up against when it comes to dating women today. Why should men, Nelson, and well, I guess you already answered it, but I just think that in asking men to evaluate a woman damn near clinically is a bit much to ask men when they can just cut to the chase, ask the relevant questions, and go from there.
Because evaluating women clinically is something that men should do naturally, and it's something that women should do naturally. When you're getting to know somebody, you're getting to know their character. So you're getting to know their thoughts, their feelings, and their behaviors. Once you understand those three things and how those things play out in that person's life, it gives you a good indication of their personality, their style, the things that they value, and how they would interact with you. So I think on both ends, that's the one thing that we don't focus on learning. We look at the superficial things. We have the superficial conversations, and then as a result, we get deep into these relationships and don't get to know the true person until it's too late. So when I'm talking about evaluating them like clinically, I'm not talking about in light of like you studying their trauma and you trying to adjust yourself to walk them through or be with them through their trauma. I'm talking about having the tools as you're dating to pick up on. It's just like picking up on red flags, and it just gives you a better, I think it gives us a better understanding of who the person is that's in front of us.
First of all, I'm kind of shaky at taking advice from a man sitting butterfly with his toes out. Just start there. But on a serious note, I think Shannon touched it. You're expecting the average man who can use common sense when approaching somebody, because I'm taking it as the sexual integrity part is for someone that you deem serious, not a jump off, not something that you just take into the short stay and having your way with. You're expecting the average man to know what to ask. Like if I look at Nelson can sit down with a woman and see triggers that we can't. He can ask certain questions that we're not school. We didn't get our 10,000 hours to know what to ask. And I'm a regular Joe. Most guys mess it up when they start asking questions. And then the ones, I'm only speaking for myself. You make a girl go back in her shell deeper. And then you could probably be friend zone Freddy after that when you start going for that. It's real touch and go. I get what Nelson's saying. I get what Shannon's saying. But it's the best I think an average man could do is just be honest. Okay, this is what I am. I'm asking questions. I want to know more about you because you're important. I see more than just intimacy from you. But, every man sees intimacy in a woman that he's looking for. But simple questions and let her know that she's safe to open up, and you trust me with your secrets because I'm not going nowhere else with them.
Nice. I mean, I think you said what most of us were thinking. That when that video came on and homeboy was sitting butterfly style, I was like, what? going on here? But Trav, let's get you in on this, man. What are your thoughts on the video?
I don't see why we can't have a balance, right? I could definitely understand what Nelson was saying, how we should educate ourselves as much as we can. We're not expected to be professionals at the end of the day, but I think it's better us to at least be familiar with these characteristics, because you do run into these women, and the more prepared you are, the better off and the less likely you are to end up in a long-term situation that just ends up being toxic, right? Because I've seen both sides of it, where a woman will be completely withdrawn and she'll be withholding sex from you, not because she's using it as a reward system, but because there's a lot of trauma attached to it because of those abuses, right? And then there's also the hypersexual, right? And that seems like a dream for a man until you can't keep up. And then a lot of bad things happen too. So just assess it as much as you can. You're not going to do your 10,000 hours. That's for sure. I can understand that. But I could definitely dig what Shannon was saying too, man. Not as much cut to the chase, but you definitely want to ask these questions for sure. But it's all in your presentation, right? So you know how to fill women out, man. You talk to them when the more you, and the thing about women is sometimes you get a lot more done listening. We don't need to talk as much. I do way more listening than I ever do talking. Let them talk because they love talking. All you give them is some acknowledgement here and there. Don't judge them. Even if you're judging them in your mind, don't let them know that you're judging them, because then they'll start to withhold information. But as long as she feels like it's a safe space for you to talk, then she'll tell you everything, because like I always say, it's therapeutic for people to actually tell the truth. We don't really like lying. We lie most of the time as humans because we feel like we have to lie. And I don't think we have to lie. But you just have to be comfortable with someone, and a person would love to be around you if they're comfortable. And I'm not encouraging men to try to work through situations that they're not mentally prepared for or educated enough, but just enough for you to at least be able to identify it and also know if that's something that you want to get into, or that's more than what you're bargaining for. I'll leave it there for now.
Well, I mean, I think what Shannon was talking about earlier was definitely for sure. I'm all for it in interrogating a woman, and you definitely want to know what really is going on, especially with something like that, something that's sensitive, but that can be very detriment to the relationship, depending on the type of man. You know, more likely a man who's not equipped to handle a situation like that, you know, he may turn his tail and run, tuck his tail and run. Another individual may could relate, because guess what? He had a family member that may have went through it, and he had to find some way somehow to coach her up or talk her through it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a very important thing to talk about. I could definitely agree with it. My question is, how soon would that conversation need to have? Now, I know he said before sex, but unless you get one that's all about to get down on the first night, how soon will you be willing to have that conversation? First 2 dates, maybe. I don't know, but I feel like as soon as possible, the conversation needs to be had. You got to make sure you establish a certain level of comfortability for that woman to express that, because that's traumatic. That's very traumatic for a woman to go through something like that, and for her to share that with you. That spoke volumes about you as a person, that she feel comfortable enough. Now, whether you're a man that can handle or not, that's left to be determined. But with that situation, I think it's good to have that conversation, and to just be honest with them. Like I think Shane, you saying that too. Just be honest up front. Hey, I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can deal with this, because it's not gonna be something. I mean, it could be something you about to get intimate. All of a sudden, she may tense up. She may have a flashback. She may, all of a sudden just shut down on you. You got to be willing to accept that. And again, talk her through situations like that. So it's not going to be an easy task for any man that has to deal with that, let alone be the woman that went through it.
How do you know what you're dealing with, though? Like,
you said what?
How do you know what exactly you're dealing with? If you ask that question early on, like while you're in the process of dating, and she discloses to you, yes, she has been. What do you do with that information now that you know?
Well, I think the first thing you may want to do some research on it. If I'm going to take this woman serious and I'm going to be with her, I'm ready to handle and accept and take on that responsibility. You definitely should do some research and try to be sensitive and ask more questions, but don't make it too enforceful or forceful with it. Just be sensitive to her time, because she's already told you, but she may not be ready to go into the details. So just be kind of sensitive, but you still may want to ask, well, where did this happen? You don't say, so you don't say it happened, she went out to a nightclub. Well, I know we're not going to that nightclub no more because I don't want to do anything to trigger her in that situation. So that, as well as, like I said, do research on what she went through. Now, I'm not saying go look at her court case and all of that, unless she decides she wants to, share that with you. But definitely do some research and get knowledge on what she's dealing with, and maybe check on YouTube, maybe some other cases that went through it and how they was able to handle it. Because, she might be still in therapy, and she might say, do you mind going to therapy with me on one of these sessions where, I sit around with a bunch of other people who's been victim of sexual harassment or whatever the case may be. You got to be willing to do all of those things. You just got to be open to that if you're ready to handle a woman who's dealt with that type of situation. That's just my opinion.